evening's Are You My Type? This is the third and final of a three-part series, and it's an opportunity for you, the viewers, to learn of the compelling and very inspiring stories as it relates to individuals who are either recipients or donors of living and organ tissue donations. And so we have a packed filled evening. We have a lot to cover in 1 hour. But before we actually meet those individuals who are either donors or recipients, I'd like to introduce you to two amazing people. One is Ms. Kendra Wright, and she serves as educational specialist with LifeLink of Georgia. And then also is Dr. John Williams. He is my colleague at Albany State University. Thank you both for joining me this evening. Let me begin. I have a question for both of you all, and then we'll segue and speak with our other panelists that I'll introduce shortly. But let me begin with you, Ms. Wright. Kendra, if you could tell us a little bit about National Donate Life Month, and why is this organization so important, and why are we focusing on the individuals that we'll meet very shortly? I can't hear Kendra. Viewers, if you could just be, okay. John, we can switch. Can you hear me, John?
I can. Can you hear me?
Okay. Okay, yes, I think we're having some technical difficulties on Kendra's side, so we'll swing back around. So let me begin with you, John. Tell us a little bit about the Minority Association for Pre-Medical Students, which the acronym is MAPS. Why did you find it so important to partner with LifeLink of Georgia?
Okay, so MAPS is an organization that's designed to focus on students who are typically of color, but it really doesn't limit the students who join, but it's primarily focused on students of color. We're trying to get to medical school and trying to provide them the undergraduate experiences and resources that they need to be successful.
John, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
Okay, I can't hear you, and I'm concerned that our viewers may not be able to hear you either. If we could just hold a moment and let's see what issues we may be having, and then we'll proceed.
So Ms. Kraus says that she can hear me. Okay. Okay. So, well, I'll go ahead and answer the question, and then we'll come back to it if need be. So, Minority Association of Pre-Medical Students is an organization that focuses on students of color primarily who are trying to get to medical school and providing them all of the resources that they need to be successful. We know that the number of medical doctors and physicians of color hasn't grown as much as it should over the last several years, and there's some technical pieces along the way that we can provide to help students become more successful in achieving that goal. Now, part of that is the idea that students are going to need community service activities as well as shadowing, clinical hours, and so forth. And so one of the things that we kind of imagined was a different spin on the community service aspect for our students. Many students will go and become candy stripers or volunteer at hospitals or maybe work in clinics and so forth. But organ procurement, which is a major issue, is one area where not a lot of people actually know about what it takes to donate, what it takes to procure organs, and the need for this in the health community. And so my students have taken the reins and have started working on this particular aspect in order to make sure that we can provide adequate information to the community, such as what we're doing tonight, as well as providing them with opportunity to volunteer for this wonderful cause. And so that's the reason why we like working with LifeLink and other organ procurement organizations. And just as a quick plug, MAPS is also a subsidiary of the SNMA, which is the
I hear
student.
anybody, and hopefully I'm looking at the chat and it appears that our audience can hear. So hopefully they got that wealth of information, John. Kendra,
Absolutely.
I'm going to go ahead. Can you hear me, Kendra?
I can. Can you hear me?
Oh, okay, now I can hear you. Wonderful. Okay, we're making some progress here. Thank you, John. I know what you shared was informative. And I do apologize to our viewers for our technical difficulty. Hopefully that was the end of that. Kendra, we'll circle back to you. And my question that I posed earlier, and you may have heard it, but I'll repeat it again, is if you would share with our viewers, what is National Donate Life Month? And why is this group of panelists that we're going to hear from momentarily so important, and the impact, or what do they represent during this month, in your opinion?
Sure. So thank you all for joining us tonight. National Donate Life Month is a time that the transplant community brings awareness to the importance of organ and tissue donation. As Wendy alluded to earlier, this is our third series. So this month we thought, since the previous series, we focused a little bit on donor families, deceased donation. We thought this webinar we would focus more on living donation and highlight the importance of getting people more educated around living donation. As you may hear some of our panelists speak about later in the evening, living donation is something that is going to become much more prevalent in years to come, because there just won't be enough deceased donors to go around for all the people in need. So as you know, African Americans make up the majority of those waiting in our state. So this is very important, not only for African Americans, but everybody that is waiting. So I'm excited about the information that we're going to be able to get out this evening, especially for those waiting, asking for that support and need for kidneys. So that is why we are here this evening. I'm excited to hear our panelists and our other health professionals.
Great. I am too. And John and Kendra, we're going to circle back to you all, but we're going to actually now segue into our panelists. They're going to share a story, and then we'll have you all come back a little bit later and have everyone on the screen. But right now, it is my pleasure to introduce our living kidney donors. I have Sierra Garcia, and then also Lakeisha Harvey. And I don't know, great. Okay, so we're bringing up some slides, and they will explain what they are. Welcome this evening, Davida and Sierra. How are you?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Hi, I'm doing well. Thanks for having me on.
Very good. Thank you so much. It's certainly our pleasure. Davida and Sierra, and so you all have a very unique and kindred relationship, and so we want to share with the viewers what that entails. Let me begin by asking a question to Davida. And Davida, if you would share with us briefly your journey to finding out that you actually needed a kidney. How did that occur, that process take place, and then your active role in raising awareness?
Okay, so I actually moved to Atlanta in 2009, and about 3 months later, I went to the doctors for a different condition. But while I was there, he ended up saying, "Hey, let's go ahead and run your labs. We'll do a full workup and see where your numbers are." So when my numbers came back, I was shocked to find out that my kidneys were only at 40% function. That was a total shocker to me. I had been to the doctors several times, and just some back history. So I had kidney disease runs in my family on both sides, both my grandmother and my grandfather. My grandmother was on dialysis before she passed. My several of her brothers and sisters have had kidney failure. So diabetes and kidney disease both run in my family. So backstory on that. After I got the results, I was just devastated. I had no clue. I had been to the doctors, and it was like, I went to one doctor and she did tell me that I had protein in my urine, but that was all. There was like no other, like, sit down and talk to you and explain what that is. So I had no clue. So years went by before I found another doctor who just decided to check, because I had been a diabetic since I was about 13 or 14, somewhere around that time frame. So I found out I had just started dating my wonderful husband. He's now my husband. But so it was three months after we met, I found out. And, you know, I really thought, well, wow, like he's going to break up with me now. But he was like, no, I'm going to stick with you. He prayed with me. He comforted me, and just, you know, has really been along for the whole journey. So at some point, I ended up getting a wonderful nephrologist with Kaiser Permanente. And she really helped me understand kidney disease and how to just change my diet. And, you know, she set up the best plan for me with Piedmont, so that I got on the transplant list even before I had to go on dialysis, which I ended up doing dialysis for 2 months. But in the meantime, she encouraged me to ask my family members, to tell people, to share the story. But it's really, you know, one of those things where you just don't walk around saying, hey, I have kidney disease. Can you let me borrow a kidney, or, you know, anything like that. It's really, you know, it's just one of those things where I had to encourage myself. I had to like keep myself positive. I had to like constantly just battle, you know, to try to stay off dialysis. So I kind of didn't share, because at times that I did share, some people were really like taken aback, and I had to end up encouraging them. So, you know, long story short, I kind of kept private. So my doctor encouraged me to share with people. She said, Davita, you're a good person. You deserve this. You should start telling people and sharing your story. So I did. I started sharing my story, and I ended up sharing with my husband's cousin, Sierra, at the time. And she was like, well, I have 2 kidneys. You can have one of mine. And
Wow.
so, you know, I kind of like just disregarded the first time, because I was like, you know, whoever's going to donate to me, I want them to want to do it. I want them to have a good heart, and I want them to know God. And those 2 were like very important things to me. Like, so I did have other people that came forward, but they got disqualified because you have to be in really good health. You can't have any underlying medical conditions and things like that. So a few people got ruled out. But Sierra kept pressing. So she called me again, and she was like, hey, I thought you were going to send me the information for donation. And I was like, oh yeah, I'll send it to you. So the third time she asked, because she asked again, she was like, you still didn't send me the information. What's going on? And so I said, okay, she really wants to do this. I am going to send her this information. And then from there, it went great. She matched as the same blood type, and we had, I think, 5 or 6 different cross matches. So I honestly feel like when I married my husband, I hit the jackpot, because she's not even in my blood relative, and I have 2 perfect matches as a result. So that's just my story in a nutshell.
That's an amazing story. We want to bring in Sierra, because, of course, my question to her is because it just sounds like she just, without any hesitation, said, what can I do to help you? Let me offer you my kidney, without giving much thought to it. So I'm curious to know, was this something that Sierra had always envisioned? It just seems like this was a divine match. And as you said, you know, through your husband, we have a lot to thank him for. So we'll bring in, so let's bring in Sierra. Because I want to hear her side of the story, because it is a very selfless act that she gave of herself, literally.
Yeah,
Yes.
she was very courageous and fearless, you know, throughout it all. It's truly a blessing. Like,
Yeah.
definitely, she was my miracle.
Indeed. I think they're
Hey,
getting her
Wendy,
through now.
unfortunately,
I can't hear anything.
Hi, Sierra.
Hi, you guys. Can you guys hear me or see me?
We can do both. We're gonna just
Okay.
plow right through, just in case we have any more technical difficulties. Welcome to the
Okay.
panel discussion. And so I was just sharing with your lovely family and kindred sister I know now, Davita. She was telling me the story, and the viewers need to hear your side, if you will. She said that she shared her story with you, and you said, "Hey, I've got 2 kidneys. I can help you out," and that you were in fact with the one that continued to press her. Where's the information? When do I need to go to the doctor? I'm curious, is this something that you had always thought about doing, or just at that moment when she shared that story, did you know I am supposed to do this?
So, no, I never envisioned me giving a part of my body. Um, I didn't. When she told me the story, I asked her, "What? What? I'm just not knowing the story. Like, what happened? Like, because she had already had kidney disease for almost what it was 6 years, Davita.
Like 7, yeah, 6 years
Yeah,
of that.
right. So I was like, I'm just not learning this. So when I was asking her, I was saying, well, what can I do? So and then she was like, no, 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 don't worry about all that. And I was like, well, then she was telling me about, being living donors and then you can get a deceased kidney as well. So I was like, well, how can I help? So I kept pressing her, like you said, to just give me the information. I want to know. I want to help. I just decided, I was like, if I'm a match, let's go for it. And I was just like, hey, let's just do it. So I got the information. I kept pressing her. I really did. She would not give me anything. She was like, no, I could not allow you to do that. I was like, no, I really want to help. So it was nothing I envisioned doing. It's just when she told me that story, I just really wanted to help. I could not watch her life go down and I'm able to help her.
Wow.
I could not watch that at all. Yeah.
Yeah. That is so powerful. And I'm a firm believer in divine intervention. And the
Yeah.
fact that again she married this amazing man who's a relative of yours, and then and I don't want to use the word seamlessly, but everything just seemed, well, yeah, I'm falling back on that word, just fell in order.
Yes.
Again, yeah, that's wonderful.
Absolutely. And then on top of that, no, I was just going to say one more thing. And on top of that,
sure.
When I started the process, I said, if I'm a match, I know that it was a divine order for me to do that. God gave me that assignment. So I knew that if everything, and one thing about me is that if it's supposed to happen, it will happen. I'm always like that. If it's supposed to happen, it will happen. And I was just like, if I am the match, I know for sure this is right.
Wow,
Absolutely.
prophetic there also, because it certainly was right. A lovely and an amazing story, and I'm so happy for both of you all, because it's such a wonderful testimony that you now have to share with the world. And that's what we're part of our journey here, is to impact one another's lives and to make a difference. And you certainly have a remarkable story. Thank you, ladies, for joining me and sharing that. We're going to have you back. But as you well know, there are some other individuals who found themselves in a similar situation. And so it is my pleasure to now bring on the screen Miss Lakeisha Harvey. I think I was a little early in announcing you. So thank you for joining me now. Perfect time. So
thank
Lakeisha,
you for having me. Yes.
My pleasure. My pleasure. And so you and Sharday have a story to share with our viewers. You became a living donor at the age of 26, very young.
Yes.
And you said yes to the donation, of course. Tell us a little bit about that story and your connection with Sharday.
Yes. So we have a very unique story. I actually was in church when I heard about Sharday's story. And initially, becoming a kidney donor was something I never thought I'd do. I was like, oh my gosh, I am not cutting my body for anybody. Like Sierra said, I was like, no, this is not what I'm going to do. But she had a very challenging life health-wise. And so I didn't know her prior to finding out about her story, I was in church and our pastor was on the pulpit talking about Sade and her story, telling us about how, she was maybe 21 at the time, and she'd already had kidney disease, lupus, in addition to some other health challenges. And I just felt really overwhelmed with emotion just hearing about how she was fighting for her life at such a young age. And so he was just saying, if there's anybody who can help, if you're interested in becoming a donor, and I'm sitting in the congregation just boo-hoo crying, like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this is happening to her. And I immediately heard the Spirit tell me, you're a match. And so it's almost like my crying stopped immediately, like, wait a minute, I don't think I heard correctly. So I'm just gonna sit right here, and just listen, and hopefully she can find a match. So I hear it again. So I'm like, all right, we got to be obedient. You should get the information. So I walked up to the pulpit and I asked the pastor for the information. He gives me the information. And I saw her mother dancing in the aisles, and I walked over to her and I said, I'm going to see what I can do to help your daughter. But at the time, I don't think she believed me. She just kind of looked at me, gave me the side eye, and was like, okay, baby, thank you. So I walked out of church. I was with someone I was dating at the time, and I immediately called my mom, and I was like, Mom, what do you think about me being an organ donor? And she was like, what? Are you crazy? And the person I was dating was like, that's insane. Like, why would you do that? But I'm being obedient to the Holy Spirit. And I'm like, I have to see what I can do. So I called the next morning, started the process. And long story short, went through the testing and everything, but to come to find out I was a 100% match. And it was kind of shocking, because, this is not something you expect. She had other family members tested and nobody was a match. She had her mom, her brother, other friends, family members, and she hadn't found a match. So I wanted to remain anonymous. I just wanted to help her go about my life and my business. But our transplant coordinator at the time, he called me and he's like, hey, listen, I want you to meet this family. And so I was like, okay, fine. So I called, and it's just like our families became instantly connected. She was the most amazing person. And I say was because she recently passed away in February of this year. But I mean, the most amazing person that you would ever meet. And we had our transplant on July of 2009. So yeah.
Wow. And so we certainly don't know how life will present to us and how we will respond to it. And I'm sure some people have asked, or maybe not. I'll ask you, would you have done it all over again?
Absolutely. Without a doubt. I felt as though that was my opportunity to help her, and I don't regret a thing.
Wonderful. And we have so many other panelists, and you have such an interesting story. But if you could just share briefly with viewers, and you said I would do it all over again, how this has transformed your life.
Yeah. So actually, at the time, I felt like I wasn't living up to my full potential. I wasn't eating healthy. I wasn't taking care of my body physically. And I was like, okay, here's this young lady who is like literally fighting for her life. Here I am perfectly healthy, and I'm not doing the things that I need to do. So from that point forward, I made a complete life change. I started working out, eating healthier. I actually became a trainer, a fitness instructor. And all of that was inspired by her life. Just because I was like, here she is, doing what she can do. I know I can do better. And so from that point forward, I made the decision to take care of my health the best way that I could.
I love that. Thank you. And so what is just kind of sent chills through me is the fact that then Sade still lives through you by the wise decisions that you're making. And now you're impacting so many lives and teaching others how to live a whole and well life because of your decision and the connection that you shared. Thank you so much. We'll have you come back a little bit later. A beautiful,
Absolutely.
beautiful story. And thank you so much for sharing. Viewers, it's my pleasure now to bring to the screen, we have Miss Hannah Graves. She's a transplant outreach social worker with Piedmont Transplant Institute. Hey, Hannah. And then also Kelly.
Hi, guys.
Canavan. And Kelly, I know I'm butchering your name, so please pronounce it correctly for me. Pronounce your last name for me, Kelly.
Nope, you got it. Kelly Canavan.
I did. Wonderful. Good. Kelly's thank you. Kelly's a transplant programs director with the National Kidney Foundation. Ladies, thank you so much. You, I know, I will say, is the pleasure of working with some amazing individuals and play a very key and pivotal role with impacting their lives. We don't know what we need until we need it. And so you help people throughout their journeys as it relates to now I'm in need, and then their loved ones and the management and the care. So let me begin, Kelly, with you. So let's just assume I'm a viewer at home who is in need of a kidney. Tell us a little bit about the Big Ask, the Big Give program with the National Kidney Foundation, and how people can get involved. And just if you could also briefly share, because I'm curious, what a day in the life of Kelly looks like as it relates to working with these amazing individuals.
Sure. So currently right now, there's about 90,000 people on the kidney transplant wait list, and only about 7,000 of those people will receive a living donor transplant. So in response, the National Kidney Foundation developed the Big Ask, the Big Give, which is a training really for kidney patients on the wait list, along with their friends and family members and advocates, to really help them understand living donation, but to also help them learn how to write and share their story for a living donor to come forward. So before COVID, we had a 4-hour in-person training that was held in partnership with the local transplant centers. But now, due to COVID, we've had to pivot that to a 2-hour webinar. And so luckily, both programs, both versions, cover the same content, topics, and these 7 key strategies that you see here. So we focus on busting myths and knowing the facts during the training, because that's really important when you're going out and not only just understanding what's going on with you individually, but also when you're out there talking to people and letting them know about your need for a kidney, but also just letting them know about maybe how they can help, either be a donor or also other ways they can help you. And then we have their Creating Your Story section of the training. So this is where they learn how to really individualize their story and figure out what key components to include to make a really compelling story, to educate people on letting them know what it's like to live with kidney disease, and how that participant's life might change from therapy to transplant. And then next we have Spread the Word and Building a Network of Advocates. So this is where the participants identify where and with who they'll share their story with. And so not only where and with who they'll share their story with, but also where they can ask people to continue to share their story. Because really, the more people that know about your need, the higher the increases your chances of having a donor come forward. And then our Learning from Others section, that is very similar to how we had our panelists on today, where we had living donor recipients and living donors. We sort of weave their stories throughout the training as well, because it really motivates and encourages the attendees to really let them know that they too can share their story for a potential donor to come forward. And then lastly, we have Create Your Action Plan. And that is where the participants will sort of take all their knowledge and information and education that they learned and sort of visualize their next steps and how they can go about, again, writing their story and sharing their story for a donor to come forward. And so if you're interested, viewers, if you're interested, and if you know anyone else that's interested in attending any of our webinars, you can go ahead and visit www.kidney.org/events, which you can see down here at the bottom of the page. And to answer your question about what my daily life is like working with these amazing people, I will say that most of my job really is more on the back end of creating the programs and developing the programs, such as the Big Ask Big Give. I do, however, get to work with individuals, patients on the wait list, where we piloted a program for about 1.5 years, and I was able to work individually with them during that time. And that brought back my memories of when I was previously at a transplant center like Hannah, where I got to work with people face to face. And it truly is amazing. And there is, it never gets old. I tell patients that all the time. It never gets old when we hear that someone has received a transplant, and not only that you had that gift to work with their donor as well and see everyone inpatient after the transplant was successful. There's nothing like that. And it really is an amazing experience.
Yeah, I can only imagine how rewarding and enriching that is and fulfilling
Yes,
for you.
definitely.
Yeah, thank you so much, Kelly, for answering that question. Hannah, let's segue over to you. Well, not the same question, but I do at the end. I have a different question for you, but at the end, also share a little with the viewers about what this has been, your day-to-day experience is like working with these amazing individuals. But the more targeted question that I have for you is, there can be some really hard days when you're waiting for an organ. Tell us a little bit about the type of resources that Piedmont Transplant Institute provides for those that are waiting.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for holding this, for having us. Thank you to the ladies who shared. Their stories are just amazing. And the beautiful thing about having events like this and having these stories shared is we can kind of see the beginning, the middle, and the end of that story. And that's where a lot of people are waiting to get to, is where is my end? Where's my happy ending? And the reason that it's so important for these short stories to be shared is that your happy ending is coming too. And we don't know when it's coming, and we need to help keep you ready for it. So you have all the right in the world to go sit in the corner and cry nonstop, but that is not going to do anything long-term for your betterment. So we got to keep moving, and I'm happy to be the cheerleader and the beverage provider and whatever resource I can provide, that whatever that's going to do to help you keep moving, because ultimately I can't do it for you. I wish I could. I wish I had a magic wand and I could wave it and make this all better. But for whatever reason, this is part of the story. And you don't get to be a beautiful young lady on a webinar like this and telling your story unless you had it. So that's part of my great joy and honor is I lead a support group that I'm pretty much just tech support for. I provide a platform for really courageous men and women to come and share their story, whether they're waiting or whether they're working on getting them on the list, or whether they're even thinking about transplant, or whether they've gotten a transplant and they're so excited to come and help others along the journey. Because you can do it, you will do it, it's going to be okay, it's not going to be easy, and there's going to be some dark days, but there's always a silver lining, and let's help you find it. And it's okay to have bad days, and it's okay that that you haven't reached your happily ever after yet. But in the meantime, you have people such as myself and Kelly and LifeLink of Georgia and Donate Life and our students that we're preparing for the future so that they can go out and figure this all out so we don't have to do this stuff anymore. And so there's a lot of hope, a lot of really great things that are happening. It's the best time to have kidney disease because we have technologies available to us that never were before. So if this is going to happen, then let's do this, and let's do this well. And that's kind of my whole point. And that's day in and day out, and it's kind of the same thing. I never get tired of saying it because it's brand new to someone's ears every day, and I hope that it's just enough to help them find their own real reason, because it certainly isn't me, and that's fine. I do not need to be the reason why someone keeps going, but I'd like to at least be the reason that they didn't stop, and that's
that is the hardest thing to do, is not sit down when you have every reason to, and no one would blame you, but like I said, sitting in the corner and bawling nonstop is not going to help you. And so let's figure out how to make this better. And so we partner with great organizations such as the National Kidney Fund and the National Kidney Registry to help patients link to those resources and tell their story. I can't tell you how many patients come back and tell me that their family was so upset with them when they found out that they had kidney disease and needed a kidney, that they never told their family. They've been on dialysis for years, never said a word, and they were furious that they couldn't, at least if they couldn't donate themselves, that they couldn't help get the word out. And so many parents that we see, you know, their kids want to donate to them, and they're like, absolutely not, you know, I'm not taking your kidney, and, you know, what if you need it, or, you know, what if you have kids and they need it? And it's like, well, let's just talk about this, okay? Let's just see. And so I can't imagine how challenging it is to be a parent and look at your child and they're willing to give you this gift of life when you were the parent and always the provider. And so there's so many different stories, and I just hope that by hearing these beautiful stories tonight and knowing that there are resources out there, that maybe we won't be quite so stubborn, and we will be a little bit more optimistic and hopeful. And I know that the world is kind of scary and maybe hurt you a few times, but I hope that these words of these people are really resonating, because I mean, it's their stories and no one can make it up, and it will legitimately happen for them. And so if it happened for them, it can happen for you. So that's part of my journey and my great joy and honor to serve these patients and help kind of just keep encouraging them. Whether they can receive my message or not, I'll just keep sending it out there. And so that is my great joy and honor to serve this community.
I love that. Thank you both for the work that you do on a day-to-day basis. When you're passionate about your job, it's more than just the 8, 9, 10 hours. It really is 24 hours, 7 days a week, because when you're dealing with the human spirit and wanting to make a difference in other people's lives, and that is intricate with what you do on a day-to-day basis. Again, it sticks with you all the time. So thank you for your work. I can tell by the joy and the energy that you both resonate that you all are very committed. And so your organizations are very fortunate to have you. We have some information, hopefully, for you, Hannah. If individuals can reach out to you and get some more needed guidance and direction. I think you both covered everything successfully, but if they have some additional questions, they are certainly encouraged to utilize those contacts. We want to maximize our time, and we're almost 20 minutes away from wrapping up. And so our tech, who's doing a great job, is going to bring all of our panelists back. So Hannah and Kelly, stay with us. And so we will see our donors and our recipients and very shortly, and then also Kendra and John. My goodness, I'm having some technical difficulties. Hopefully everybody's coming back. I've got a little buffering on my end.
We can hear you.
Listen, I'm going to, I froze.
I can jump in really quickly Wendy, if you need me to.
Yeah, would you please, because I can't see
Okay, sounds good. So as you can see on the bottom, we've added any questions that you may have, please type them in the comments. And we will put those questions up for everyone as we get them in. So don't be shy. I wanted to start by just asking Sierra as well as Lakeisha. So if someone's out there thinking this may be something I potentially want to do, can you share a little bit, either one of you all jump in, share a little bit about what the experience was like? Can you all hear me? Okay.
I can hear you, Kendra.
Okay.
Hopefully
I
everyone
didn't know
else
Sierra
can hear.
and
Did you go straight to the questions?
I did. I started with Sierra and Lakeisha. I don't know if they can hear me though.
Okay.
I can hear you, but I'm not understanding what you're saying. It sounds like a little robot.
I think she was asking about, can you tell a little bit about your experience and share what that was like? The process of being a donor?
Okay, yes, absolutely. So the process, I was so very nonchalant about everything. I was just like, oh, take my blood, take this, take that. So the process and the experience was actually, it was like amazing because it was something I never done before. I never had a surgery before. I was very curious about what was going to happen. And it was just, going through the process was like a journey for me. And it was like, wow, I'm actually going through this. I'm actually getting my blood drawn. I'm going to a psych test. I'm going to this, I'm going to that. And I'm actually about to be put on the needle to give a body part to my loved one, Davida. So it was just, it was amazing. All I can say is that it was like an experience of a lifetime for me.
Awesome.
I can
Is
only
Wendy back?
imagine. Thank you so much for sharing that.
For me.
Thank you for sharing. If we could say, will you share with the viewers, particularly this impacts sorely communities of color. The African American community still has some great reservations.
Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Okay, what she was going to ask is just African Americans are greatly affected as far as it relates to just being in need in general, and why this is so important for us to get the word out about living donations. So I gave a little bit of some of the statistics around just donors that are in need in general. So in the state of Georgia right now, there are about 5,000 men, women, and children waiting for life-saving organs, and the majority of those are African American. We make up about 60% of those waiting. And so, as Kelly alluded to, there are a lot of people that are in need of kidneys. People have to step up, whether that be in, they're passing away, or stepping up like Sierra or Lakeisha and saying, I want to be a living donor. I was talking to someone today, and she said, my husband has had a lot of people step up and say, yes, they want to do it, but for some reason, they don't meet the weight criteria, for example. So I think Sierra, as well as Davida, and maybe even Lakeisha, just alluded to health and how important that is. And as you know, in the African American community, we often suffer from high blood pressure and high cholesterol and things of that nature that are going to automatically rule us out to even be becoming a living donor. So it's super important to continue to understand that, yes, it's great to sign up to be, an organ donor. Living donation is just going to be another way that we can give the gift of life, in life, right? We can live with one kidney. You see Sierra, you see Lakeisha, they're thriving. So I would just say, you know, sign up to be an organ donor. We'll put the information down at the bottom for everyone to, you know, do that if they want to register. And then you, Kelly, obviously, and or Hannah, if you're interested in being a living donor, they can get the information to you about that as well. So I'm going to hop to our next question since I don't see that Wendy is back yet. Davida, I know you alluded a little bit to just there are days that are just going to be hard, and you got to push through. You know, what were there specific things that you did to kind of encourage yourself during that time?
Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so for me, I'm a really big fan of speaking life, like over myself, over whatever it is. I speak it, I put it in the atmosphere. I will write down my goals. I will, you know, whatever it is, I have a mindset that our brain is so powerful. Like whatever we think, I believe it can come to fruition. Like in the placebo effect. So it's like that's why they study in medicine, like they'll give one group this set of medicine that has no effect, and they'll give one group the real thing. And it's because they know the power of your mind. And so I always encourage myself by just speaking like, I will live and not die. I am healed in the name of Jesus. Like I'm a Christian, I'm a believer. And I just believe that I would be healed. It's just a matter of walking through it. So there were times that I did feel down. Like I'm sure from the outside looking in, a lot of people just saw me show up with a transplant because I didn't share my story a lot. But in between and just walking it out and just having faith that, like Hannah said, I know it's going to end well. I know I'm going to win. I'm going to beat this. And I just had to keep that in mind. Like another thing that I do is I always begin with the end in mind. What do I want out of this? I knew I wanted to be healed with. So with the ending in mind, I knew that one day my story would change, and I just had to hold on and I had to fight. I had to make changes to my health and just listen to what my doctor said, but also be my own advocate and do the research for things that could help my situation. So I started taking a lot of supplements. Of course, I ran them by my doctor, but I think it's like really a holistic thing where you have to like do the work and believe at the same time. And that just kept me encouraged. You know, there's a quote by Dr. Martin Luther King that says, run when you can, walk when you have to, crawl if you must, just never give up. And I think because of the things that I've been through in my life, I built this kind of like a resilient attitude, like, no, I'm just going to push through. I'm going to get through this. And I just kept my mind on that. But throughout it all, I did have a lot of family members that supported me and encouraged me. I could call them up and they'd pray with me, especially my husband, definitely my mom. She was there. She took care of Sierra and I for like, what was it, Sierra, like 6 weeks or 8 weeks? She came from Florida to care for us both because at the time we were living together. And that right there, like when you really feel the love of your family and those who pray for you and it's genuine, it can help you go a long way. But for anybody who doesn't have support, for anybody whose story does look like is not going to end, you just have to find your why. Like what are you going to keep fighting for? Is it your kids? Is it your future? Is it just so you can feel better? But you have to have something to believe in. You have to have something to hold on to. You have to like, whether it's like, because if you don't believe it, sometimes you have to do the work until the belief comes. Mm-hmm. So if it's just writing in a journal, like what is your outcome? Like I will get a transplant. I am healed. I will get this job. I will, and just speaking it out loud and praying, most of all for me, praying really helped. So I know that was a lot, but.
No, thank you so much. I hope that encouraged someone because I know we do have some people on that are waiting tonight. Yeah. We do have 2 questions from my audience. So I'm gonna turn this over to Lakeisha. How did you feel after? How did you, Davida? Sorry, how did you feel after your transplant?
How did I feel? After my transplant, I was really like in disbelief. It's so funny, but I just knew like going in, like I was going to be okay. There was this sense of reassurance. Like I was not afraid. I know it sounds really weird, like you're being put under for like 8 hours. And I have 3 kidneys now. So I have my 2 and then the one that was donated. And it's still surreal to me that I survived something so massive. Like literally there were times where like my kidney function got down to 3%. You know, that's how low it was. I ended up in the hospital. Like, so just to be post transplant, I felt like a sense of like relief. Not as if the battle was over, but like, wow, like this, like I don't have to go to dialysis anymore. You know, I can take fewer medicines. I can travel. I had so much hope for my future, and I was just grateful. Like my heart is so full. Like I'm still on a cloud of gratefulness. Like everything I do is full of gratitude. Even before transplant, I was a grateful, glass half full type of person. But now it's on like level 10. Like everything is like I see it. I see the good before I see the bad, because it's giving me so much hope.
All right, thank you so much, Davida. We have another question from our audience, and that is, Hannah, can you talk a little bit about the BMI requirements for a living donor and what those are? And maybe for those that don't know what BMI is, explain a little bit about that. Oh, yeah, you're muted.
Sorry, I was gonna say, I'm a social worker, so please take what I say with a grain of salt, but I listen to what these clinical folks talk about. And I would really encourage that if you are interested in living donation, BMI is body mass index. It's a measurement of your weight distribution. And one of the things that's more challenging is the more weight, especially we carry around our abdomen, which is where, unfortunately, that's where it tends to go when we carry it, is that it just makes your surgery more dangerous, because if you think about it, it's just, you got to go through more to get to what you need. So that's the way I remembered it, at least. And so I really encourage you to come forward and have the transplant team evaluate you and do CT scans. That's what the surgeons love to look at, because that can help them estimate. And if you do need to lose some weight, they can give you a very prescribed specific number to your own self, because we're all different. And it's not a judgment. No one is here to make you into a Barbie doll. It's just, we want you to be safe as a donor and safe as a recipient. And they've done this for a long time, and they know what that looks like and how that works. And so I don't want to throw out a number and that not be, you know, something that would be helpful to you. So I would really encourage that if you are interested in being a donor, we can get you some resources. Please don't be a stranger. We can reach out to your transplant center. You can talk to them and say, this is, you know, who I am and what I'm composed of. What do you think? And we say, well, let's take a look at it. So that's a great question. That's a common thing that we can come up against in the transplant center. And we're happy to make a plan that works best for you, but so enthused that you're thinking about being a donor. So that's the hardest part.
So we have one more question that we have time for, because we are nearing our hour. And that is Letitia and Sierra, how did you feel after your surgery? Letitia, you can go first, and then Sierra, feel free to chime in after her.
Sure. So after the surgery, it was kind of surreal, but I felt great. I didn't have any complications. I recovered well. I felt fine. They told me 6 weeks out of work, but I was up, moving, walking, and everything literally like the same day of our surgery. So I was happy to do it, you know, and beyond how I felt, I was happy that I was giving Sharday an opportunity to feel good, because she hadn't in a long time. So honestly, I don't even think I really thought about myself that much in the moment. But I do remember feeling like, okay, that wasn't so bad. And I recovered really quickly and moved on with my life and didn't have any issues as a result.
So the
Or
chime
did you want to add anything?
Yes, I'll definitely add something. So, because I don't want the viewers to think that it's not painful, because I was in pain, but it was a great experience. So when I woke up from the recovery, I was like, oh, I'm hurting. But then after I rested that next day, me and Vita, we met each other in the hallway, and it was so amazing to see her face. And it was like she was like just so bright, and I felt so good about myself that the fact that that had happened. I'm about to cry.
I know, me too.
And
My
so,
eyes had gotten brighter. Sorry.
yeah.
Sierra.
So looking at her face and knowing that it was like a breath of fresh air, walking down the hallway, and she was strutting her stuff. She was walking so fast, and I was walking so slow. I was like, I'm still in a little pain. But overall, like Lakeisha said, it wasn't like about myself. It was about her feeling better. And knowing that when she woke up and that next day she felt great, I was like, thank you, Jesus. Now the life is like she has a new life all over again. So it was amazing. It was amazing. And then just to share a quick little story, because I know time is the essence. We actually stayed together after the fact because her mother had took care of us. So we would get up like 2:00, 3:00 in the morning, and we'll be walking towards each other. We was like, what are we gonna do now? And watching movies all types of nights and stuff. So we shared that moment together, and that was like amazing for me too. And that made us bond even more.
Yeah. It was. I didn't touch on the physical side of it, which I mostly focused on the mental because it's just how powerful it was. But yes, like Sierra said, I was bright. My skin was brighter. My eye whites had gotten brighter. It's like you never know that you felt bad until you feel good. And that was a realization for me. Like, I didn't know how bad I felt until I knew what good was, and so I got new skin. Like, people don't know these things, but my skin actually like peeled, not literally like strips of it, but like it was flaking off because I got new skin, new eye whites. It was like, like
she was bright.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I felt great.
So Lakeisha, I really don't know how like you felt like afterwards, like as weeks went by. I did feel good, but it was a process to get your body back together, as far as exercising, drinking your water, just making sure that you are well enough to carry on your life. Not that your life stopped, but it's just that a body part has been taken from you. So then you need to know how, okay, what else do I supposed to do? I have to drink my water, 65 ounces of water a day, making sure that I'm flushing the kidney that I have while it's really pumping more in me because I only have one. And you will notice when you're not doing that. And I notice now, and it's been 5 years. So I have to make sure that I keep myself healthy to make sure that I know that, okay, Sierra, you're good, you're healthy, you're exercising, you're trying not to gain too much weight, so afterwards it is a process. So I'm not going to sit here and act like it's not, but it's a process, but it's a great journey that you have.
Yeah, I do agree with you 100%. I did not bounce back like immediately.
Right.
That, we had the surgery and I'm running through the halls of the hospital the same day. No, I was walking, it was short steps, but I honestly, I was more concerned about her, and it went well for her on her end, and my healing went fine, and I didn't have complications, but of course it definitely did take time to heal completely and move back into the same activities and everything. But I didn't have any issues though.
Right. Me either. We good. We living our best life.
Definitely.
That's awesome. I love it.
I just want to add
we are at 8:00. Go ahead, Davina. I love the conversation.
So this is just a message because since I've had my transplant, I've had people approach me and they might say they're diabetic or they think they have kidney disease and they're going to get checked up, or they may even have kidney disease, or they've had a blood test and it shows an increase in their creatinine. So I want to just encourage people out there that if you have high blood pressure, have high blood sugar or diabetes, or if you have been told that you have protein in your urine, don't ignore it. Don't think that just because it's silent, just because you can't feel your blood pressure, you can't really feel your sugar, or you can't feel kidney disease, that it's not wreaking havoc on your body. You have to do something like today, because there's a certain window where if you are, I believe, up to like stage 3, you can put a pause on your progression, or you could even increase your function. So when I was diagnosed, I was already at 40% function left. So the chances of me going back to like because I was diagnosed at like a stage 3-4. So like I did what I can and my numbers did improve, but I just tried to prolong dialysis as long as I could, like 7 years, through making drastic changes and doing the research and being my own advocate. So I just want to encourage people, if you know, like, check your sugar, check your blood pressure, take your medicine. And you can't always rely on just saying, well, I don't want to take medicine, I'm going to do this natural way. No, until your numbers are good, you cannot just not do anything. It either has to be, you're fully following your doctor's order, or you're fully following the natural way. You can't just not do anything. So that's my little plug. Hannah.
Well, I just want to say thank you. This has been a lively discussion this evening. I see all this about PA. Yes, I always feel like we had a little bit more time, but we did on for an hour, so I don't want to take up anyone else's time this evening. But hopefully this has sparked some interest and people wanting to know more about living donation and just donation in general. So I hope that you will reach out. You can reach out to like the Georgia, the National Kidney Foundation, the Piedmont Transplant Institute. Thank you, Albany State. Thank you, Professor Williams, just for partnering on this. I'm excited about working with your students in the future. I think we have some great work that we have started this year. And we'll continue next year. So you all on this panel, just know we're gonna be reaching out to do more of these things in the future. So to our viewers, thank you again for your time this evening. And that is all we have. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.